Um, I would like to welcome Hallberg, guys. The relationship between Hallberg engineers and Dunwoody has been before I even came to the program 10 years ago. Hallberg has literally adopted this project, the 15,000 square foot with the addition commercial building. And every week they will come here and review your project. So today I will let Joe Bomawa and Nick Verba. Nick is a graduate of the program. He'll say a few things too. And Joe's going to explain, maybe give him a few things about Hallberg and walk you guys through the narrative.
Start with, I'll do a quick introduction to myself, and then Nick can talk a little bit about himself. I actually graduated from this program in 2000. I became an intern right away with Hallberg in 1999 after my first year. Worked there over the summer, and then was hired on full time. So I've been there. This is going on my 13th year, and just kind of came right out of school and started working. Obviously we were working only in CAD then, and working just primarily picking up red lines, which CAD was even kind of, there was a lot of engineers that didn't even know how to work CAD at that time. So at that time it was, the engineer would mark up a sheet and give it to me, and I would put it into CAD. And then slowly, obviously 13 years, I wasn't continuously picking up red lines the entire time. I was slowly becoming more and more of a designer, kind of like what you're going to do in this project. You're designing the building. You're not really given a bunch of red lines with everything already done and then just putting it into Revit. You're designing it. You're laying out the lights. You're sizing the service, which I think is kind of what your goal is to become as a designer, not a drafter. So, but anyway, so I kind of started there, started doing only drafting, worked my way up. Now kind of entering into, even after 13 years, I'm just starting to become more of a project manager, managing my own projects and larger projects. I would say probably maybe 5 years ago I started managing some smaller fire alarm replacement projects, kind of fiddly little stuff. But and now finally managing some larger stuff, and we brought Nick on to help with Revit, and I've also been to Revit training, but we don't work with it. I guess we work with it a little bit, but we haven't really. Not all of our projects are in Revit. We still do a lot of CAD. We did. Hallberg does mostly schools, but we also do a lot of retail. Actually, Old Country Buffet, which was one of our larger our clients, and all of their remodels. They got 250 stores throughout the United States that they all needed remodeled because they were 15 years old and they wanted them done in Revit. So that was one of our big clients for Revit work for a while there. And we have a couple architects that they specifically say that all of their stuff is only in Revit. So we brought Nick on. Nick's almost kind of taken the lead at Hallberg as our Revit go-to guy. So I can kind of let him talk a little bit about what he's done, at Hallberg, and how Revit is becoming, kind of almost the I guess CAD is kind of going by, just like hand drafting went away completely. Now CAD is almost completely going away completely. So if you want to talk a little bit about yourself.
I came out of the program in 2010, so it's about a year and a half ago. And our class was the first one that used Revit. So it was a really good experience, and companies are out there looking for people that know Revit. So it's really going to be advantageous for you just to have the experience and work in this application. At Hallberg, I've been responsible for setting up converting their symbol sheets from AutoCAD into Revit for both electrical and mechanical departments. been a huge learning experience, a good experience, all kinds of things that keep you busy, dressing up and doing the details, converting that stuff into Revit sheets. There's a lot to Revit, and I think you guys will enjoy it. I'm here to help if you have any questions you have on the software. Feel free to ask, and get you guys.
So we're going to come in every week, and well, obviously starting after your Christmas break. But we're going to come in every week, and we're here to help you guys to answer your questions, but we're still going to rely on Chad to teach the class. So questions about design and everything, it's still kind of Chad's the teacher of the class. If you have questions on how to do something, I'll gladly answer it, but there's a lot of ways to do everything in electrical design. So there is, you can ask me how to lay out lighting, how I would lay out lighting in a classroom like this. And I might tell you I'd lay it out fixtures like this at 8 by 10 spacing, and I'd make them 3-lamp fluorescent troffers. But engineer X that works at Mashad Cooley might tell you, no, I think you need to lay it out at 8 by 8 spacing. So there's a lot of ways to do everything that there is to do with electrical design. So I can definitely give you my opinion on how I would do it, but I just want you to realize, I guess, that there's a lot of different ways to do it. When it comes to Revit questions, that's why I'm bringing Nick along. He's the guru, so if you have any specific Revit questions, I know you guys are getting into it, and you probably already know more than I do, so you can ask me a Revit question, but I'm probably going to point at him. So, but like I said, we're here for you guys. We're going to come in every week, and there's going to be, we're going to talk about the scope narrative this week, but next time I come in, we're not going to have really anything to talk about. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to say, is there any questions? And if everybody just stares at me, then Nick and I are probably going to go down and have a cup of coffee and go back to work. So if you have questions, ask them. If you want me to come look over your shoulder, that's fine. If you can ask them out loud so everybody can hear, that's great too. But like I said, if you don't have any questions, then, we're gonna head back to work. So make sure you're prepared for it. Just like when you have speakers come in, I guess I should talk a little bit about the speakers. You have speakers come in every week also that we set up for you. Be prepared for those guys too. Again, they're here for you. So when the fire alarm speaker is coming in, think about what kind of questions you can ask this guy before he gets here. How do I lay out smoke detectors for a commercial building? Why do I need smoke detection for a building if it's completely sprinkled? Just questions like that for him, because again, he's here for you. He might give a little, 1 hour, just basic speech on fire alarm design. We asked him to talk a little bit about fire alarm design. I'm just using him as an example, and we tell him to try to keep it generic, even though they might come in and talk specifically a little bit about their product. Todd Christensen might come in and tell you Cutler Hammer is the best panels ever made, but we try to tell them to keep it a little bit generic, and so it's not commercial for him. But again, like I said, they're here for you guys, so try to be prepared every week for them coming in, and ask them questions too. So I think Nick and I will kind of maybe tag team. We'll go through this scope narrative a little bit and ask questions as we go. If something doesn't make sense, we can certainly go over it.
Joe, do you want to say anything about the schedule before we dig into it?
Yeah.
If you want to, I walked them through it, but if you want to emphasize certain things.
So, like I said, we'll come back after your break here and talk about riser diagrams, and that'll be me and Nick talking, but that'll be basically we'll probably talk about the difference between a one-line diagram and a riser diagram. Um, different engineers do it differently, but again, it's just a different way of showing it. It's the same information, but it's a different way of showing it. A riser diagram is more almost like a cut view of looking at a wall with panels on it, and then you schedule everything. You schedule your feeders, you schedule your breakers and your fuses, and a one-line diagram is everything in one spot, and all the breakers and feeders are all listed on that one-line diagram. So again, it's just a different way of showing it. There's different opinions on which is best to use. Chad probably is a one-line diagram guy.
We're doing a riser because of Revit, actually.
Yep.
We just switched this time.
Yep. But you've always
I always
been a
did the
proponent
riser,
of
one-line diagram.
one-line diagrams. I've always done a riser diagram. The guy who hired me at Hallberg doesn't work there anymore, but he was always a proponent of riser diagrams because, in his opinion, from a contractor standpoint, they're easier to bid. I can take my panel board schedule and I can, well, at that time, fax it to Cutler-Hammer and say, here's my panels, give me a bid. Rather than sending him a drawing, a 30 by 42 drawing of my one-line diagram. So in his opinion, it was easier to bid from a contractor standpoint, which we want the contractor to put together a good bid, for our jobs. So that was always his stance on why a riser was better. So we'll kind of go over a little bit of that. Todd Christensen, Cutler-Hammer, he'll come in, talk a little bit about power distribution, different types of panels, breakers versus fuses, stuff like that. Motor control, January 10th, Jerry Stanton from Square D. He'll come in, talk about starters and disconnects and different ways of starting motors, which will help you again with all your mechanical equipment for this building. Skip ahead to visual software. Jeff Crowder from Davis and Associates, he will come in and speak about the visual software and probably spend some time here going over the software with you and training you in that program, laying out lighting and achieving the different foot candle levels that we talk about in 1.5 design criteria lighting from the scope narrative. Lighting control speaker, Keith Steverson from Melasgar Associates. He'll come in and talk about Douglas lighting controls, which is just one manufacturer out there that makes a lighting control panel. He'll come in and talk about that, how it works. It's a relay panel that's programmable, so you can tell your parking lot lights to come on at 5 o'clock at night and shut off at 9 o'clock at night. It's a little bit more, it's a smarter way of controlling lighting. Occupancy sensors, it might seem like it's just a motion detector. Some of you guys probably know there's different technologies out there. There's ultrasonic, there's infrared, passive infrared. So he'll just kind of explain a little bit about the different technologies, where you use which technology when. And then fire alarm systems. I think we've kind of decided Kevin is actually no longer with Simplex, and he didn't show up last year anyway. So I think I'm probably going to do that one. Like I kind of mentioned in my introduction a little bit, when I first started at Hallberg, I did fire alarm projects specifically for them. They sound really boring, but there's every school out there has an old fire alarm system that needs to be replaced. So I worked on those for like 5 years straight. So I know a little bit about that. So I'm going to come in and probably do the fire alarm discussion for you guys rather than having Simplex in. It just they were hard to get here every year. So and then generator. Jerry Boggs has been coming in since the very beginning too. And most of these guys have Jerry Boggs, Todd Christensen, Jerry Stanton. They've all been coming in since I was in the program. over 10 years ago. So they've all done this before. They kind of know a little bit about the program, and they'll probably, be expecting hopefully a lot of questions from you guys. I kind of talk to them a little bit after every time they come out here, and it's different. They pretty much do the same song and dance about their product, but like I said, ask them questions. So. And then looks like you guys are gonna we'll come out here on the 15th after you guys start working on your spec and kind of putting your project together for the last deal. Project estimating. We're gonna also rely on Chad to help you with that. I worked with the McCormick program 12 years ago, but that's all the project estimating I've done. I'm part of the engineer world. There's two worlds to our business, and the engineer world and the contractor world. Some of you guys might already be working for contractors, some might be working for engineers. I actually, growing up, my father was an electrician. I worked at Musca Electric for a little while, but then now, since I've been at Hallberg, I've been in the engineer world. So estimating is kind of all Greek to me, so I'm going to rely on Chad to teach that part of it. And then the 22nd, we have you guys to our building. Come over to our building for a tour of the building that you're designing. So the building that you're designing is actually the building that we're officed in right now. Dustin's very familiar with it, so if you have any questions, just bug him. And we'll have you come over and kind of just do a quick tour and answer any final questions you have, and feed you some pizza, and then you guys have your project submittal and presentations, which Nick and I will probably come to and ask you all kinds of difficult questions and make you stutter and stammer in front of a big audience. No, I'm just kidding. So that is the schedule. Nick, do you want to? I've been talking for a lot here. Do you want to kind of start going over the scope here, and maybe I'll step in as needed, I guess.
Could you give us just a little more background on Hallberg as far as
Sure.
how old the company is, just some basic company information?
It was started in the 70s actually by Warren Hallberg, which is Joe Hallberg's dad. It was started as a mechanical engineering firm only. In the early 90s, actually probably mid 90s, they brought in Jim Hankovich, who hired me, and he started the electrical group. They've pretty much started doing only schools, and they had some relationships with a few architects and a few buildings and grounds guys at schools. It was a really small company, and it still isn't huge, but it was a really, really small company. We've kind of grown. Now we've picked up a retail group. Like I mentioned, we do OCBs. We do Aeropostales, Rue 21s, Forever 21s.
You're working on a national basis or regional?
Yep. Yeah, the retail is all over the country. They're doing one in actually Hawaii right now, so it's all 50 states. We have our engineers are registered in all 50 states, and so we can pretty much do a project anywhere. The school group remains pretty big. That is only in Minnesota, and we still do, obviously, with the economy, the big brand new extravagant high schools aren't being built anymore. But if you asked me 3 years ago, we had an East Ridge High School, which is in Woodbury, St. Michael High School. These are all brand new 400,000 square foot plus buildings, and we all designed them at the same time, and that was probably our peak. St. Michael, East Ridge, and Chanhassen High School. We did those three pretty much at the same time. And we also did the MSOP prison, which is up in Moose Lake, and that was another huge project that we did. So we do a little bit of correctional work too. but that's primarily the type of work we do. You know, I think in the 70s it was probably 5 people. We're at about 50 people now, including admin.
And is that mainly public arena bidding too? So it's all lovely compliances with state regs and all that?
Yep, yeah. With schoolwork, you know, it's all public money, so it's all that's you know why they need to have engineers design it. So yeah, there's all kinds of different regulations and everything we have to comply to. So
One thing that comes interesting about Hallberg is that it's an offshoot of the shop, who Joe Hallberg, or not Joe, but Joe's father is actually a partner in the shop. He used to shop who we are in Hallberg. And then Mr. Hallberg left and started his own firm. Even though when school was big.
Yep.
Any idea when that happened?
What? I think it was the 70s.
yeah, I think it was the 70s.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So for your project here, see, we're going to do a computer operating, electrical distribution, emergency lighting, communication, and system roughing. And the office building is going to be for 10,000 square feet with a 5,000 square foot addition. So when you do your service, we want to take that additional square footage into account. We're going to do an alternate for your lighting. For the open office lighting, I think that's open office 126. If I'm not mistaken.
Does everybody understand what an alternate is? You're putting together a set of bidding documents. So what your goal is to do is to put together a design set of documents for a contractor to be able to take to his office and bid off of. So everything that you're putting on the drawings needs to be able to be interpreted by someone else. An alternate is a way of saying, well, we want to do it this way, but say it comes in over budget and we don't have enough money. If we do it this way, how much cheaper will it be? So an alternate, the base bid for the open office is some nice hanging indirect fixtures that are hung from some aircraft cable, and they look real nice, but they're expensive. The alternate is for 2x4 parabolics, which are this is a lens troffer, so parabolic has actually got a different type of lens, but they're obviously very much less expensive than those fixtures. So you have to lay out that open office in 2 different ways with lighting. You have to lay it out with the indirects, and you have to lay it out with the 2x4s. So you have to design that space twice for lighting. And the contractor will bid it as, if I put the lighting in this way for the base bid, it's X amount of dollars. If I put it in this way with the alternate, it's X amount of dollars. So which way do you want to do? So then you as an owner can say, well, we decided we do have enough money, so we want to do the base bid. So let's do the base bid. So now you install the indirect fixtures rather than the 2x4 fixtures.
All right, some of your assumptions, the owner will be providing a telephone system, accessories such as voicemail, telephone cabling, outlet devices, and cover plates. Your locations will be identified by the owner, which is Chad. And rough-in boxes and raceway will be provided by Division 16, so that's you guys. And you know, in Revit, they do have ability to put in conduits if you want to take that on, you can, otherwise you can just do it with keynotes. We'll provide all data networks, including cabling, outlet devices, again. And you're going to be responsible for the rough-in boxes and raceways. Intelligence VCRs, your video equipment. Let's see here, will be provided by Chad again, the owner. The locations will be identified by the owner in rough-in boxes, raceway, and then cabling again provided by Division 16.
Joe, do you want to say a few things about the low voltage? Because that always been the confusing part. How you guys do it? and this as well?
The way we originally decided to do this project, which it has changed, which is the way that a lot of projects are done. There's actually, we as a designer, like I said, in a lot of our projects, and it's actually changing again. We'll design a rough-in only for low voltage data and voice. So we'll design an outlet with an empty J box right next to it, with a pull string, with a conduit going up into the ceiling with a pull string in it. So the owner can come in afterwards and have his own data guy come in, and he'll come in to put in a data outlet right next to that receptacle, and there'll be an empty J box with a conduit going up to the ceiling with a pull string in it. He'll attach his cable to it. He'll pull the pull string into the ceiling. He'll mount his outlet. So that's kind of the way that we used to do a lot of our projects, was rough-in only. And that's how when we started this project, we actually used to do it that way. Even now at Hallberg, we're starting to design more and more of our low voltage ourselves. It used to be kind of a specialized deal that we kind of only wanted the data guys to take care of because we had enough of our own stuff to worry about. But even now, we're starting to do even more and more of that on our own, which I know with this project has evolved with, we used to say rough-in only, now Chad's saying you guys design the data and the voice also. So he wants you to know where a voice outlet, or where a voice jack is, where a data jack is, and the type of cabling that you're using. So that's kind of the two differences of what is done.
Okay, so for your regulatory requirements, we need to be in compliance with the American with Disabilities Act, NEC, NFPA, Life Safety Code, state and local codes, Uniform Federal Accessibility Standards, Minnesota Electrical Code, and the International Building Code with Minnesota amendments. Below here is you have your individual requirements for each room. You guys will go through that with the individual to do your lighting calcs. I don't know that I need to go through each.
No, I'll just say a quick, we're kind of giving you each specific room, how many foot candles, an average foot candles level that we want in each room, the type of fixture that we want in each room, and how we want it controlled. We're basically, this document right here, we're giving you everything you need to design the lighting, and then if we, as we move on, and there's another section for power, where we say every single outlet that we want in each space also. So we're kind of giving you all the answers, in a way, in this document right here. And I always say every year, and I always have a difficult time saying it because it always kind of comes off as arrogant. But if I was given this document at the beginning of a project right now, with what I know now, and this has all the answers, all the 73 meetings that I have to sit through with an owner at the beginning of a project to get all of this information. If I was given this right away at the beginning of a project, I think I could have this thing done in less than a week. And you guys are going to be working on this project for
12 weeks.
12 weeks. So use this as much as possible. Realize that all the answers are in here. If something doesn't make sense, obviously ask us and we'll clarify it. So.
One thing that was really unusual when I got out of school and into Hallberg, I thought this is what I was going to get per project. I thought I was going to get a sheet with the requirements and that type of stuff. It's nowhere close to what it really works. It's definitely a nice thing though.
Are you retained directly by the owner, or are you retained by architects? How is that?
Both.
Oh,
Yeah, we work for architects and we work for owners. And really it's, I guess we would probably rather work for an owner, direct with an owner, because then you don't have to go through somebody to get your answers. Because even when you work for an architect, depending on the architect, sometimes they want to be a part of every conversation. So you can't just call up the owner and say, what type of lighting do you want in your open office area? You have to say, hey architect, can I call the owner, because the owner is his client. So, but yeah, we work for both, and you know, some architects are better than others. Some are great to work with. Some just say, do whatever you want and contact the owner directly. We don't care. And there's other architects out there that don't really understand what engineers, designers do. So they want to be in control. So we do both, and you know, work is work, I guess. So.
Thank you.
So let's see here. We need to supply a light control panel. Okay. With an astronomical font, with inputs from photocells, contact switches, momentary contact switches, and we're going to have those relays HID rated, 20 amps at 120 volts. Constructed to withstand arcing and stress created by high and rush. Alright, so we're going to route the exterior lighting circuits from the lighting control panel. The interior circuits will also run through the lighting control panel, and will be swept at the end of the day. Open office task lighting circuits will also run through the lighting control panel for timed on and off control. So we've got a bunch of cubes at Hallberg. Some of the J-boxes on the floor that will be running those circuits there. And those circuits will be run through your lighting control panel. The coffee pot in the lunchroom will also be on that lighting control panel for on-off control.
So it's called the lighting control panel, but we're controlling the coffee pot. So I don't know if you guys aren't really familiar with the lighting control panel. It's also just a relay panel, but we're using it to control our lighting, and we're using it to control some outlets. We have task lights at each cube, and the task lights are actually plugged into an outlet. But at the end of the day, we don't want those, you know, we don't want 50 task lights left on because people leave their lights on. It's just people forget. So our lighting control panel is actually interfaced with our security system. So at the end of the day, when the security system is armed, the security system sends a signal to the lighting control panel, relay panel, and sweeps off all the lights, the task lights, and the coffee pot, because if the coffee pot is left on. Our new one actually is, it just warms the water, and there isn't an actual burner like that one. But we used to have one like that, you know, people would leave quarter inch of coffee in there, and then it would burn all night, and you'd come in the next morning and it'd be shattered on the ground. So now that outlet is controlled, that's the same thing. It shuts off at the end of the day with the security system. So that's kind of the generic reason of why we're using a lighting control panel. And like I said, there's a speaker coming in that will talk about that and explain all about how it works and answer any questions you get.
We need to put in a dimming system on the conference rooms. So it'll be 4-zone with remote, and it'll be flush mounted. And we also want to provide required fluorescent interface modules. And then below here we have your requirements for each room for the receptacles. And you'll see that some of them are weatherproof GFI. And we also have some notes. Make sure you pay attention to those. There you go. And this will give you specific directions on what you need to do for each one of those things. Kennedy, we have an updated criteria. Okay, so check your email, see if you have this, because I did change some of the requirements for we changed some of the room numbers.
Okay.
To match the model. I think the is at the office space for class 5. We turn that into a different room number.
This area?
No, the one over here, this one.
Okay. Okay, we'll update them.
So the reason on this plan, that's called a lease space. When I first started at Hallberg, that was a big empty room, including the 2 offices on the bottom there. And things were configured a little bit different. And we grew as a company, so we ended up actually taking over our own lease space and putting cubes in there. So you'll notice also when you do come for the tour that there's even some other changes that have been made. And eventually maybe we'll update our model to be exactly what we have. But for the most part, it's the exact layout that you'll see there. So.
So Nick, did you say that 127 you changed the number? Or all of the numbers have been changed?
The number actually is the same, it's just called Open Office 127.
Okay, gotcha.
There's a,
Instead of lease space.
there's a 127A and B.
Oh, these here probably.
Yeah.
A and B, okay.
All right. Your descriptions of your, do you have this on the background?
Yep, we do.
Okay.
So there's numbers on a lot of pieces of equipment. You'll notice that that's where you find out what those numbers mean. So some of them might say file cabinet, which probably doesn't need power, but some of them might say printer. So that's stuff you need to pay attention to.
It's kind of great to from power to the file cabinet.
Back to the document.
All right, your electrical service. So it's the 281 volt 3-phase 4-wire, and provides service entrance rated panel with main for current protection device, and that will be located in the electrical room. And then again, size of distribution panel to handle the addition. And we're going to feed the following loads: your lighting panel, your receptacle panels.
We're getting rid of this one.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go.
There you go. Your air handling unit, the condensing unit, the boiler pump 1 and boiler pump 2, and ATS switch. And then distribution devices to feature additional lighting. Okay, and the additional receptacle panel, you want to take that into account as well. And the additional future condensing unit. On your main board, they're going to add a transient voltage surge suppression unit. And you can just add that as a keynote on your keynote panel.
That's something I would talk to your panel guy at Cutler Hammer. If you don't know what TVSS is, don't understand anything about it, which I know I didn't, ask him. Just how do I get it on my main service? What is it? What does it protect against? Types questions like that are good questions for your Cutler Hammer guy.
And you have your little blurb here on your power distribution and what's to be fed. For your mechanical equipment, you need to include your starters and disconnects. Zero current, conduit and conductors, all control. Okay. And down here you'll have your list of all your mechanical equipment that needs to be powered, and all of your load, right? Your load 15 horsepower. You can go into the NEC and figure out how to size your conductors.
Is this also way more tiny than what you would receive in the real world?
Yeah, normally we'd have to sit down with a mechanical engineer, which was all right with us normally because we are a M&E firm. But you know, even you can even ask Nick. Some of the mechanical engineers that we work with are more difficult to work with than others. You know, some of them know exactly what we need. We'll sit down in a room and we'll get all this information out of them in half hour. Other ones will wait till the project is, you know, going out tomorrow, and then they'll say, "Oh, I'm changing the condensing unit, and it's changing from 30 MCA to 50 MCA." So it's stuff like that. All depends on the mechanical engineer. But yeah, that's all the information that you need, and usually that's something that we end up having to coordinate with our mechanical engineers. So.
What I say too is that once you're doing this project, nothing changes. You know,
Yeah.
It's pretty much on the sheet and you just go. But I wish that's the way it was in the real world, but it's not. It's changing constantly.
Yeah, when we did this in CAD, we actually used to spring a background change on it. So we'd have the building laid out one way, and then we'd try to play architect and say, "Oh, the background change, we're the owner. We want this instead." So walls would move, and we'd add offices and really tick you guys off. But now that we're in Revit, it's one plan, and we're sticking with one plan. So we probably should still spring that on you guys, but this year we don't. So.
When we get smarter with Revit.
Suicide would be in one. One thing that is pretty interesting now is we end up doing a lot of remodel work. So one thing that we don't address in these projects are what you demolish, take down and then reinstall new equipment. Maybe at some point that'd be something to come into. But just get ready for that because you're going to see quite a bit of that. Your standby power system will be required to provide a standby generator to handle the building electrical loads, including your future additions. The generators, the 208 120 volts with thickest flow wire. We'll need to provide an ATS switch equipped for bypass for all electrical loads, including future addition, and that will be located in the mechanical room. We'll mount the generator outside on grade, adjacent to the mechanical room. And one of the things I can show you guys how to do in Revit, which is pretty simple, is I'll show you how to make that concrete pad. Something that should scale that generator on. Security system. We need to provide one with the following minimum components. Main security panel located in server 107. Door contacts, exterior doors, motion detectors for corridors, glass break sensors, in the rooms with exterior perimeter windows, and an audible alarm and a main staff keypad in the main entrance. I think content might be an issue for some of that stuff. The keypad. There's some sites out there that have some content that you guys might want to take a look at, like Revit City. I don't know if you're familiar with that. But there's a lot of different models that you can pull down and use in your content. Fire alarm system. Okay. It's not required for this building, but we're going to provide one anyway. So the panel will be located in server 107. You'll need an annunciator panel in the vestibule, manual pull stations at the exterior doors, and audio visual devices throughout the common spaces, and visual devices in the bathrooms and conference rooms. We're doing smoke detection through the entire building, and duct smoke detectors and supply and return ducts of the air handling. And we need to verify them on application with NFQ 72. Are we doing without any supply and return duct stuff?
We'll find out when we come in and talk about fire alarm.
Okay. Connecting the fire protection system. Oh, I'm sorry. You need tamper switches and one flow switch connected there. And we'll need a horn stroke located above the Siamese connection on the exterior of the building. That's basically your place where the fire department hooks up to the
water supply for the building.
Thank you. So for that. one strobe right above it. And here's your requirements for your technology for the raceways. So, and is this going to be just a stud-ups, right? Yeah, stud-ups into the ceiling. And again, if you want to do that and run it, I can show you how to do that. If not,
So again, this talks about stubs with nylon pull strings, but that's incorrect because you're designing the entire voice and data system for this building. So that kind of gives you the requirements of what we would want where, but you're going to also basically need to strike that, and it needs to be that you need to specify the specific data and voice connections in each room. So
It's addendum.
addendum. Any questions? I think we kind of
Are you
covered.
seeing much in the way of totally wireless in office buildings? This area?
Or as far as data, you mean?
Yeah, I come out of that field and
Mhm.
I've seen one time ago I left Seattle, and they were going hugely wireless, and that kind of radiates out.
Yeah.
And the whole thing, full monkey, voice data, everything,
Mhm.
totally wireless. Plug your business in it, surrounding receivers, transceivers. So there's
Yep.
wiring. And the question is, do you see that here, or is that still?
We do see that in a lot of our designs. We're almost doing both. In a lot of people still have a workstation. They still want to plug their computer into a hard data connection. But a lot of schools will throw wireless hubs down the corridor. So there's wireless throughout that entire school. So there's little study halls or nooks in every school where a kid can go and sit. And maybe more in the higher ed part because but there's areas where kids want to sit down when they're not in class and do their homework. So yeah, we do see a lot of it, but like I said, it's more we're seeing both the hard connection and the wireless connection. Yep. Mhm.
Some of the chat questions too. Are there any like state and federal local codes and standards that allow for jobs?
I know the first thing that comes to mind with that is parking lot lighting to me. That is every city is different with the requirements. A question right away might be, where is this building located? Well, it's in White Bear, Minnesota, obviously. So one of your things that you might want to do is you might want to go on to the White Bear Lake website. What I have to do with every project I do, when you get to the site lighting, and you need to find out what requirements are for that city. So White Bear might only allow a 20-foot high pole. So normally when I design a parking lot, I like to put 30-foot high poles, but specific cities only want 20-foot high poles. And also certain cities want foot candle levels to be, when you're on the property line, they want the foot candle level to be 0. And that's sometimes more difficult than it sounds with parking lots, especially with the businesses being, abutting each other, right next to each other. So you need to specify a fixture that has a cutoff shield on it that puts all the light forward and nothing spills behind it. So that's kind of one of the things that I find that I have to do on every project when I design a parking lot lighting. So that kind of sort of what you're. Yeah. Yep. Lighting is a big one.
And when you put generator, sound too.
Mm-hmm.
Sound is another thing for generators.
Yeah, generators. One of the main places you have to deal with generators is pollution control, and and it's more for noise than anything, obviously. And generators aren't always on, but when they are, people know it. So
Anything on the federal side?
American with Disability Act is a
Yep,
big deal.
yep, that's correct.
Major thing.
ADA, yep,
Yeah.
make sure everything's accessible, yep. Obviously, emergency lighting, you need a certain amount of foot candles to get out of the building. And you need exit lights to show you where the exits are. Fire alarm is kind of a sort of a federal deal, but they're not really required for every building. We're actually not required to even have a fire alarm system for this building. We're required to have a connection to the flow switch because we have a sprinkler system in there. So if the sprinkler system gets activated, then a signal gets sent to the fire department that the flow switch has been activated and that the sprinklers are going in this building. But we're not required to have smoke detectors in this type of building, like I said, or horn strobes like that right there. But again, like I said at the beginning, this specific program, Chad's the teacher, we're really more of an owner or a resource for you guys. So if I'm the owner of this building, which I'm kind of acting as on this project, I'm saying that I'm paranoid about fires, so I want a fire alarm system for this building. So that's an owner requirement. That's something that you would find out in a meeting. You would go into a meeting with an owner and you'd say, you're not required to have a fire alarm system in this building, but do you want one? I'd say, yes, I do. So.
Was he teaching when you were here?
No.
He wasn't one of my victims.
Who was your instructor?
My instructor, when I went through the program, it was actually the first year we had the exact same instructors as the electrical program, the construction program. So we had different instructors, and actually Rich Wagner was he was my motor teacher. So he's a big shot now. So, and he had a lot to do with a lot that I learned. More, I guess, even in the electrical part, he helped me out with a lot of stuff. He's a good person. So, and the second year I had Steve Bain, who I don't even know where he is.
He's in Tennessee now.
Is he? Okay.
I wasn't born when he was in school.
That's
a joke. Any question, guys, for Hallberg? You're gonna enjoy them. They're fun. Nick and Joe are really fun to have around, guys, and it's gonna be a great project. What I'm trying to do this year, trying to find a volunteer to do a complete solar system for this building in Revit. So I'm still looking for a team to volunteer. I see a hand in the back there. Or teams, it doesn't have to be one team, to do a complete solar system in the building. And with utility interactive, that would be really cool since we're going to the green building. And Nick will be helping us with, I'm wondering about the modules of Revit and the families. I don't know if they're families, but we'll research this as we go. Yeah. So that would be a really cool project to put a complete solar system on the roof, interface it with the utility interactive system to the service.
Are we thinking of putting all the batteries?
The limit is the sky. I think batteries, we probably wouldn't have enough room.
Thank you.
Yeah, we wouldn't have enough room for batteries, but we definitely have enough room for utility interactive inverter in that room. Just another panel basically, and on the roof. I don't know, you could easily put solar system there, right?
Oh,
Panels?
Yeah, there's nothing.
There's nothing on the roof, so it could happen.
You're gonna have to hire a structural engineer.
Structurally sound is a different story.
Yeah. We'll just assume that it's structurally sound.
Any question, guys, about for Hallberg here? So I know Nick and Joe went fast through the narrative. What we do, guys, every week when they come over here, we review one section of that narrative. So we'll dig deeper into it. Um, and I know Nick is going to be our expert in Revit, and last year you did a great job, and I think every year we get better and better with Revit, guys. So we have a lot of support.
You were working in Revit last year, very much.
Yeah.
That's using the word loosely.
Okay, well, right.
Do you buy Revit directly, or do you purchase that through software distributor for all their consumption?
It's right.
And usually there's some local firm that's
We use Managed Design. They used to be called Linux. There's a few of them out there. It's CTC, or is that the other one?
I think that sounds right.
Yeah. So we use Managed Design. That's who. That's also where I went to training. Private training is there. So
they sell like a suite of different products for up and down the scale
Yep.
of electrical architecture.
Yep.
They basically all of us resell it. It's not anything all of us produces.
So I just want to mention, guys, as long as I have two grads of the program here, it's a great program. I mean, Joe, you were the first or one of the first to graduate from Dunwoody in this program years before, right? You guys were the first group with
we were the first group. Yeah.
the first group to graduate. So, and that was in '99 or 2000.
2000. Yeah. There
2000.
kind of was a little bit of a hybrid of the electrical program in '99, but when they first called it the ECDM program was 2000 when I graduated.
Yeah.
So.
So the program has been running for 11 years, or almost 12 years with this year. So it's a good reputation. A lot of people found jobs. I know, Nick, you sat in that somewhere here, I think,
Right, yeah.
when Joe came here, and they connected with Joe and found a job at Hallberg, and I assume a lot of you guys will connect with all the speakers who are going to be here to find a job if you're not working. We have a few people that are already working in the field, so almost half, if I remember right. It's not hard to have a half when you have 10 students.
Yep, these speakers that come in, they're vendors, but obviously networking is important to finding a job. So all these guys, ask them questions, let them know who you are if you're looking for a job. They work directly with us, and they work for us. Cutler Hammer is a vendor, but they work for us. Todd Christensen, he wants to be specified on our projects. He wants Cutler Hammer to be in our spec. When an electrician opens up a spec book that we issue with every job, it's going to say you can use these type of panels for this job. You can use Cutler Hammer, you can use Square D, and you can use Siemens. And if Todd doesn't do his job right, I can very easily remove Cutler Hammer from that spec book. And now when the electrician bids that job, he can't use Cutler Hammer. So he works for us. We ask him to come here for you guys to help you guys. So, but he works for other engineers too. He works for contractors. He knows a lot of people. He's a good guy to have on your side. So networking is a huge deal also when you're looking for a job.
I remember Davis and Associates. They do, and I'm sorry, not Davis and Associates. Yeah, Davis and Associates. They do lighting. They came one time here, and one of the students connect with them, and now I forgot his name, but he's now working as a lighting designer at lighting. Basically, they're lighting vendors. They sell lights. Low voltage contractors. When they came here, they hired one of the students too. So it's a good opportunity for you guys to network and find a job if you're not working. Any questions, any comments? I told them also, as we move forward, guys, please, sometimes if you don't have any questions, Joe will email me and Nick and say, do you guys have any questions this weekend? If you say no, we don't want them here, so I'll email them and they will not show up. So I hate for them to come over here and not being able to be utilized, especially with Revit and with the expertise of Joe and his design. It's always nice, guys. I found it very interesting to ask Joe the same question that you asked to Chad and see how would he answer it from a different point of view. I like the way you put it. There's so many ways of doing the same thing. And ultimately, you guys will be exposed to so many designers and engineers. And what's in it for you, you'll become a better designer the more you're exposed to different ways of doing business. I think so.
Well, how long have you been in the building?
98, I think.
Oh, okay, so this, so it's part of a design, parallel design build thing, you know, duplicating the existing structure, the city.
Yep.
Any other questions, guys? Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate it.